Chapter 2277 Battle 3. Chapter 2277, Battle 3. Feng Wu smiled. Whoosh! She drew out her fallen star sword. The sword struck down. The sword was back in its sheath. It finished the job in a split second, and only then did Lady Gu realize that her right hand had been cut off at the wrist. She was speechless for 3 seconds before she felt the excruciating pain. Ah! She screamed at the top of her lungs. Ah! One could tell how much pain she was in just by listening to her. Granny Zhao looked worshipfully at Feng Wu as if she were a god, but she was frightened at the same time. Miss Wu, that's your aunt. She had been shocked when she heard that Feng Lu was dead, but it wasn't as shocking as witnessing Feng Wu cutting off Lady Gu's hand. Feng Wu smiled a little. If the people she brought here were more powerful than me, what do you think she would have done? Granny Zhao said. Well, that's true. Feng Wu said. Not only would she make me wish I were dead, she would also torture every single one of you as well. Since she provoked me first, she needs to live with the consequences. I've been keeping a low profile for too long. They all think that I'm a defenseless bunny. She was right. What she did had terrified all those people. Especially Zhong. He stared at Lady Gu in astonishment, and believed that Feng Wu meant it when she said that she would kill her. She was such a fiend. Overwhelmed with rage and pain, Lady Gu fainted. Zhong, who had gone pale from the loss of blood, caught Lady Gu before she hit the ground. He looked at Feng Wu and said in a solemn tone, Miss Feng Wu, you've made a very big mistake. Feng Wu crossed her hands behind her back. Really? Zhong said. You've humiliated Lord Gu, and there will be consequences. Feng Sun appeared behind Feng Wu and grinned. Really? I'd like to see what he can do. Young Lord Feng. Zhong was once again astonished. No wonder Miss Feng Wu was so bold. Young Lord Feng was behind her. Zhong said, Young Lord Feng, I hope you'll be able to keep your hands. Feng Sun let out a sigh of relief when all the people left. He jabbed a finger in Feng Wu's head and said in a surprised tone, Little Feng Wu, you can be so astonishing sometimes. I'm not bold enough to cut off my aunt's hand, but you are. You're so fierce now. Feng Wu looked at him in such an adorable way that his heart melted. Feng Sun said, Fine, fine. They came after you first. I'm sure Lady Gu is to be blamed for everything. Feng Wu nodded repeatedly. Feng Sun said, But that man wasn't lying. You've just humiliated Lord Gu, and he won't forgive you for that. Let me think of something. Feng Wu asked, What level is Lord Gu at? Feng Sun said, Forget it. He's a spiritual king at least. Feng Wu said, All right. Feng Sun crossed his hands behind his back and said, Most times, if a major family like this is humiliated, they like to put pressure on the family of their opponent. Chapter 2278 Battle 4. Chapter 2278, Battle 4. Feng Sun looked at Feng Wu. After the old generation of the Feng clan passed away, there weren't many talented people left. Even the guards left you, making your family an easy target. Feng Sun said, So in my opinion, the first thing Lord Gu will do is to put pressure on the Feng clan, asking them to punish you. Qiuling asked nervously, Young Lord Feng, what will happen to Miss Wu? Feng Sun said, What will happen to her? It'll be serious. The best scenario is to make her cut off her own arm. Worst comes to worst, all the people in Fallen Star Yard will be killed. Qiuling, Granny Zhao, and Uncle Qiu all cried out. Feng Wu said, Stop trying to scare them. Feng Sun said solemnly, Xiao Wu, I like teasing people, but I'm very serious now. What would other people think of Lord Gu if he lets you off with a slap on the wrist? They would think that one can disrespect Lord Gu without paying a price. You better watch out. I'll go get some help for you first. After that, Feng Sun jumped out the window and disappeared into the night. Miss, Granny Zhao looked concerned. Uncle Qiu also wanted to say something, but hesitated. Feng Wu waved them off. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Granny Zhao and Uncle Qiu nodded. That was true. Feng Wu always knew what she was doing. If she could protect her family 5 years ago, when things had been so dangerous, of course, she could protect them now. Meanwhile, true to Feng Sun's worries, Things were indeed getting out of hand. My lady, I have news. Granny Gui, who had been watching Fallen Star Yard, rushed back to Flying Snow Building. Lady Wang was praying to Buddha at that moment. Hearing Granny Gui, she frowned and said, Granny Gui, behave yourself. You're way too old to shout like a young maid. My lady. OMG. Granny Gui didn't know how to express herself. She then lowered her voice and told Lady Wang about what happened in Fallen Star Yard. What? Lady Wang was shocked. Are you sure? Yes. I can't be any more sure. Although I wasn't very close, I saw everything. Feng Wu cut off Lady Gu's hand at the wrist. I saw the hand drop to the ground. Lady Wang was astonished. That girl is so bold. I never thought that she would be so ferocious. Granny Gui sounded glad. It's a full-on war now, and they won't stop until one of them is dead. My lady, we should just sit here and watch them fight to the death. Feng Wu had killed Lady Wang's daughter, and the second branch wanted to replace the first branch. At that thought, Lady Wang nodded excitedly. That's right. Let them scratch each other's eyes out. But, she told Granny Gui, tell my husband to come back now. Granny Gui said, but my lady, didn't you say? Lady Wang said, Lord Gu is bound to make a move, and my husband has to be around, but he can't get involved either. So, she then told Granny Gui her plan. Granny Gui cried out, my lady, that's brilliant. For once, Lady Wang made a smart move. Zhong took Lady Gu back to her brother's place. The entire household was astonished. From Lord Gu's mother to Mrs. Gu. Chapter 2279. Battle 5. Chapter 2279. Battle 5. Lady Gu was her mother's only daughter, and the old lady doted on her. Because of that, Lady Gu grew up to become such an arrogant and stupid woman. My daughter. When the old lady saw the unconscious Lady Gu and her handless arm, she fainted as well. Mother? Mother? Mrs. Gu tried to wake her up. She then told the servants, go get Lord Gu. The old lady woke up when Lord Gu arrived. The first person she saw when she opened her eyes was Lord Gu. The old lady sat up and asked in a hoarse voice, how's your sister? Lord Gu was as calm as ever. He said indifferently, she'll live, but her hand is gone. The old lady almost passed out again. You, my dearest you. After the initial sadness passed, the old lady was filled with rage. The old lady gritted her teeth. Who did this to my daughter? Who? Zhong was brought in, and he told them everything. Because he had been forced to cut off his own arm, he hated Feng Wu. When he told the story, he added a few details and described Feng Wu as an unreasonable and violent girl, while completely omitting everything Lady Gu had said. I won't have it. That's unforgivable. The old lady grabbed Lord Gu's hand and said, kill that Feng Wu. Now, kill that little bitch. The old lady loved her daughter, but Lord Gu was a naturally cold man. When he saw his angry mother and his sister's severed hand, he didn't feel much. However, he was still a son, so he would do his duty. Mother, please don't be mad. I'll take care of it. Lord Gu nodded. The old lady knew what her son was like, so she gritted her teeth and stared at him. Bring me Feng Wu's head, and you can have the book your father left behind. Lord Gu's eyes flickered, but the light disappeared in a flash. Mother, please get some rest. I'll make the arrangements. Lord Gu walked away. The old lady hated Feng Wu so much that she wanted to eat her alive. Help me stand up. The old lady soon calmed down. Gather everything you can find on that girl. My lady. Granny Zhu hesitated. The old lady smirked. Killing her would be too easy. I'll ruin her reputation, and make her wish that she were dead. The old lady had a wicked smile on her face. Granny Zhu swallowed and said, my lady, you know what Lady Gu is like. The second branch of the Feng clan has obviously declined. If it was only a quarrel between Feng Wu and Qi, how could it become so serious? Shouldn't we? Chapter 2280 Battle 7. Chapter 2280 Battle 7. So what? The old lady stared at Granny Zhu and smiled coldly. I don't care how things started. She injured my daughter, and I'll destroy her. No, I'll destroy her whole family. Granny Zhu cringed and didn't dare to say another word. She nodded and left the room. The old lady's cold eyes were filled with hatred. After Lord Gu went back to his study, he sat down and took the marriage letter out of his sleeve. He had asked Gu Xingyue, Lady Gu. She had prevaricated at first, but when he pressed her, she finally told him the truth, and told him about the marriage letter. Lord Gu's eyes flickered. The beautiful lady. Lord Gu had seen her from afar, and it was love at first sight. He had always been a cold person, and he thought that he would stay that way. It had never occurred to him that he would fall in love with a woman. The thought of marrying her warmed his heart. He believed that she was the only one that could do that to him. Because of that, he would stop at nothing to get her. She must have agreed, otherwise, she wouldn't have signed the letter, but everything changed since Feng Wu came back. Therefore, he believed that Feng Wu was the only obstacle. If that girl was dead, there would be no problem. However, he didn't want to get her blood on his own hands. Go get the head of the Feng clan, Lord Gu told Wang Chun, his personal servant. Knowing that his master was very difficult to please, Wang Chun immediately walked out of the study and closed the door behind him. He soon came back with news of Feng Yanfeng. I arrived at the Feng clan when Master Feng was carried back. His head was wrapped in a blood-stained gauze, and he was covered in blood. He was unconscious. Lady Wang cried and said that she didn't know if Master Feng would survive. If he wakes up, he'll come here immediately. Lord Gu turned the iron ring on his finger and smirked. Smart man. The temperature in the study seemed to drop. Wang Chun felt a chill run down his spine, and his legs trembled. The Lord looked very terrifying when he smiled like that. Does he think that he can hide from me just like that? Lord Gu rose to his feet. Since Master Feng is in such a critical condition, of course, I should check up on him. Lady Wang panicked when she heard that Lord Gu had come in person. What? Lord Gu came here himself? Lady Wang cried out. Granny Gue said, he's already arrived. He's in the main hall now. Feng Yanfeng cried out. He'll immediately see through my fake wounds. Quickly, pour more blood on me. While they ran around in a fluster, someone came back with the news. Lord Gu is heading for Fallen Star Yard. What? Fallen Star Yard? Does he want to catch Feng Wu himself? That formation can never hold a spiritual king. Feng Yanfeng was conflicted. Feng Wu had killed his daughter, but he also felt that she was the future of this family. Meanwhile, in Fallen Star Yard. Chapter 2281 Untitled. Chapter 2281, Untitled. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was playing with the fire dragon rod in Fallen Star Yard. It was a nice weapon. One strike, and she could knock out quite a few people. They couldn't run either, because they would be caught by the rod. Together with ground control, she could pretty much beat up whoever she wanted. Feng Wu was still admiring the weapon when she frowned. Because someone was tearing open the formation. Had the Gu family sent someone here again? Only a spiritual king or higher could destroy her formation. At that thought, Feng Wu charged out with the fire dragon rod. She was right. A man in a blue robe stood in the gap in the wall. He was very tall, and there was a ferocious air about him. It was already chilly, and he made the temperature drop even more. However, Feng Wu smiled a little. No one could be as intimidating as Jun Linyuan. Since she had gotten used to the crown prince, other people were nothing, no matter how cold they seemed. Therefore, Feng Wu slammed the rod on the ground and stared at the man. Crack. The formation cracked. Who are you? Feng Wu asked coldly. The man moved closer. Feng Wu saw his face. Lord Gu. The two families visited each other quite often, and Feng Wu had met Lord Gu when she was little. Lord Gu didn't speak. He kept his gaze on Feng Wu, and he reminded her of an eagle. With his hands behind his back, he strolled in Feng Wu's direction. He was going to walk past Feng Wu and enter the house. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes and stopped him. Lord Gu, where do you think you're going? Lord Gu darted a severe look at her. I'm going to see Lady Ling. To outsiders, the beautiful lady was known as Lady Ling. Feng Wu was furious. Who gave you permission to call her by that name? Lord Gu glared at her. He then smiled grimly and shoved Feng Wu. Feng Wu was pushed aside and almost bumped into the door frame. Miss Wu. Qiuling nervously tried to steady Feng Wu. When she touched Feng Wu, however, it was as if an electric current was running through her. That hurt. Qiuling looked down at her hands and saw that they were burnt. She then looked at Feng Wu and saw that her face had darkened as well. There were no obvious marks on her skin, but Qiuling could see the sweat rolling down Feng Wu's forehead. Lord Gu was so terrifying. Qiuling's stomach lurched. Someone like that had his eye on her lady. What should they do? Feng Wu stared at Lord Gu. It was indeed very painful. For a moment, she thought that she had been hit by lightning, and the burning sensation had almost knocked her unconscious. Luckily, it only lasted for a split second. Feng Wu gritted her teeth and blocked Lord Gu's way again. Stop! She pointed the fire dragon rod at Lord Gu. Seeing that Feng Wu still dared to stop him, there was a surprised look in Lord Gu's eyes. Chapter 2282 Untitled. Chapter 2282, Untitled. Naturally, he knew the impact of that strike. He had wanted to knock Feng Wu out with the pain as a warning. Normal people would never be able to withstand such power. However, not only did Feng Wu withstand the attack, she also blocked his way again. Do you have a death wish? Lord Gu stared at her. If you want to see my mother, you have to kill me first. Feng Wu slammed the fire dragon rod on the ground and looked fearless. Lord Gu couldn't help but glance at her. He remembered something he had heard about Feng Wu. Hadn't it been a few months since she became a Year 2 student at Imperial College? He had 6 sons, and all of them were very talented. The oldest had graduated from Imperial College, and the youngest was still in Year 2. He heard that his son was already the top student in Year 2. Move. If my son bullies you at school, as your father, I'll make it right for you. Lord Gu waved her off, as if she was just a kid that shouldn't get involved in adult business. Feng Wu glared at Lord Gu. Wang Chun immediately explained to her. Lord Gu's youngest son is also a Year 2 student in Imperial College, and he's a level 5 spiritual elder. Feng Wu didn't hear him. She was bothered by what Lord Gu had just said. As my father? Who gave you that idea? Feng Wu asked sarcastically. Lord Gu frowned. I'm going to marry your mother. If you want to move into my residence, I'll give you permission to call me father. Feng Wu was furious. However, she told herself that she couldn't let him control her feelings. Otherwise, she would lose completely. The beautiful lady was finally woken up by the noise outside. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and came out of the room. She wore a casual outfit at home. The light pink robe hugged her tiny frame nicely. Her skin was as fair as white jade. She wore no makeup, but still looked as pretty as a picture. Her beauty didn't seem to belong to this world. As soon as she came out, everything else seemed to freeze and fall into the background. She even outshone Feng Wu, who hadn't reached her full potential yet. Lord Gu was so arrogant to Feng Wu, but when the beautiful lady came out, he couldn't look away from her. He was in a trance-like state. Xiao Wu, do we have a guest? The beautiful lady had no idea what was going on. Feng Wu said, he's leaving. All right. The beautiful lady looked curiously at Lord Gu. She jumped when she saw the infatuated look on Lord Gu's face. She hid behind Feng Wu and whispered, Xiao Wu, he's a bad man. Feng Wu said, Mom, did you meet him before? Yes, said the beautiful lady. He wouldn't let go of my hand when he gave me back my handkerchief. He's very bad. She grew agitated. Feng Wu placated her. There. He's the worst. You go in first. I'll chase him away. Feng Wu then glanced at Qiuling. Chapter 2283 Untitled. Chapter 2283, Untitled. Qiuling nodded and led the lady back into the house. Lord Gu followed her with his eyes, and even took a few steps forward. Thump! Qiuling slammed the door behind her, blocking Lord Gu's sight. Lord Gu, did you hear that? My mother doesn't like you. Feng Wu crossed her arms and sneered at Gu Guanjuan. Gu Guanjuan was Lord Gu's name, and Guanjuan meant champion. That was how much expectation his family put on him. Lord Gu didn't let them down. He had single-handedly raised the Gu family to its current position. He frowned and said affirmatively, I'm going to marry her. Feng Wu said sarcastically, Lord Gu, you still have a wife, don't you? Lord Gu nodded in silence and looked confused. Feng Wu smirked. If you still have a wife, and you don't want another one, my mother will only be a concubine. I wouldn't call that marrying her. Lord Gu met her eyes. Do you mind that very much? Before Feng Wu could reply, Lord Gu nodded and said, Your wish is granted. Feng Wu's eyes widened, and she was confused. What did he mean? Before she could do anything, Lord Gu took Feng Qi down from the pole. He promptly left after that. Miss Wu. Granny Zhao was worried when she saw the look on Feng Wu's face. Feng Wu had always been very confident, and she had never frowned like this before. Let him take Miss Feng Qi, and this thing will end here, said Uncle Chiu. End? Feng Wu smiled grimly. Things were just getting started. When Lord Gu arrived at Flying Snow Building with Feng Qi, Feng Yanfeng had already received the news. He lay in bed and pretended to be severely injured. Lord Gu didn't beat around the bush. He only said, I'm going to marry Lady Ling on New Year's Eve. Master Feng, thank you for your support. Hey! Lord Gu left after that, and Feng Yanfeng couldn't stop him. For real? He asked Lady Wang as he ripped off the bloodstained bandages wrapped around him. Lady Wang nodded. That's right. If Lord Gu says so, it has to be true. But, Feng Yanfeng walked back and forth in the room. But Lord Gu still has a wife. That lady is going to be a concubine. Isn't that a humiliation to our family? Lady Wang said. Then what should we do? Feng Yanfeng murmured. What would Feng Wu say? She won't have it. Lady Wang suddenly remembered something, and she stared at Feng Yanfeng. Don't we still have that letter to expel them from the Feng clan? Even His Majesty knows about it. Feng Yanfeng looked at Lady Wang. What do you mean? Expel Feng Wu and her family from the Feng clan. Don't you want to get revenge for Lu? Just use that as your excuse. Lady Wang grew more excited as she spoke, and even her cheeks twitched. If they're no longer members of this clan, no matter what that woman becomes, our reputation won't be affected. Feng Yanfeng had the habit of sitting on the fence. Hearing what Lady Wang said, he hesitated. Chapter 2284 Untitled. Chapter 2284, Untitled. And, Lady Wang tugged at Feng Yanfeng. Yes, Feng Wu has been making fast progress, and will become the hope of this family. But have you forgotten something? She still remembers how we treated her when she lost her ability 5 years ago. That shocked Feng Yanfeng. Lady Wang knew that her words were effective, and she went on persuading him. She's only a spiritual lord now, and she's already bold enough to destroy Yinya's house, kidnap her cousin, and cut off her aunt's hand. What will she do when she becomes a spiritual king? Do you think she wouldn't want to replace you? Feng Yanfeng's stomach lurched. Nonsense. A woman can't be the leader of a clan. Lady Wang said. Even so, there's still a male heir in her family. Feng Xiaoqi is still alive. Feng Yanfeng said. He's no more than 14. Lady Wang snorted. Have you forgotten about all the young emperors in history? If they could be controlled by the actual ruler hidden behind the curtain, why can't Feng Xiaoqi? Those words hit Feng Yanfeng in his sore spot. He said, well, let me discuss it with the elders. Once he was gone, Lady Wang sat down at the desk, wrote 2 letters, and gave them to Granny Gui. Send this to the Wang family. They need to get busy now. And make the preparations. I'm going to see Mrs. Zhou now. Because of what Feng Wu had done, an elaborate plot against her was forming. Wave Yard was still being repaired, so Feng Qi and her family moved into Sea Yard for the time being. Dad! Mom! Feng Qi ran toward her parents, crying loudly. You have to get revenge for me. I'd rather die if we can't kill Feng Wu. Lady Gu had just come back from the Gu family, and she was thrilled to see Feng Qi. She touched Feng Qi's face and nodded. Don't worry. We can't let it drop either. Death would be too easy. I'll make her wish she were dead. But Mom, Feng Wu is so powerful now. Feng Qi burst into tears. What should we do now? Expunge her from the Feng clan. Someone said affirmatively from outside. The family of 3 turned around and saw that it was Lady Wang. Sister-in-law. Lady Gu wasn't very pleased to see her. She finally saw that Lady Wang only cared about herself. "One," she blurted out. "Now that my brother has saved my daughter, you're finally here. I thought I could rely on you and Master Feng Yinfeng, but I see now that I can only count on myself." Lady Wang didn't seem to hear her complaint. She said, "We'll remove Feng Wu and her family from our clan. What do you think?" "What?" Lady Gu and Feng Yunya looked at each other in astonishment. "Sister-in-law, do you mean it?" Despite his injury, Feng Yunya jumped out of bed. If Feng Wu was expunged, Feng Qi would become the most talented child in the Feng clan. Chapter 2285 Untitled. Chapter 2285 Untitled. Expunge Feng Wu. Feng Yunya and his wife asked again. "Are you sure about that?" Lady Wang smiled. Of course. Lady Gu had been quite indifferent toward Lady Wang, but when she heard the news, she was immediately enthusiastic and took Lady Wang's hand. "Can we really do that?" Lady Wang said. "She destroyed Wave Yard and injured all of you. Although that's some serious offense, it's not serious enough to kick her out of the family." She shook her head. "To destroy Feng Wu, we have to make sure that we destroy her for good. Otherwise," Lady Gu said, "Sister-in-law, you mean?" She slid her finger across her neck as she spoke. Lady Wang glanced at her. "Are you going to assassinate her yourself?" Lady Gu was speechless. As a matter of fact, she didn't have any men that she could use to kill Feng Wu. "Moreover, we can't even get into Fallen Star Yard," said Lady Gu in embarrassment. Lady Wang nodded. "Yes, that's why we need a plan." Lady Gu asked, "What plan?" Lady Wang glanced at the couple. "It's not the most decent thing to do, so you'll have to decide if you want to participate or not. After all, it's your house that was destroyed, and you're the one who lost a hand." Hearing that tone, Lady Gu moved closer and said eagerly, "Sister-in-law, we all know that you're the best. Please tell us." Only then did Lady Wang tell her what the plan was. After hearing it, Lady Gu and Feng Yunya were astonished. They looked at Lady Wang and said in unison, "That's brilliant." Lady Gu never thought that her stupid sister-in-law would be able to come up with such a great idea. "Sister-in-law, that's a very nice plan. If we use it properly, Feng Wu will." Lady Wang nodded. How did she come up with this brilliant plan? Ever since Feng Lu died, getting revenge had been the only thing on her mind. She had gone over it at least 100 times. She had perfected it many times, but Feng Yinfeng had forbidden her from making a move. And now there was a great opportunity. Recalling Feng Yinfeng's warning, Lady Wang looked at Lady Gu. "I'm only giving you the idea. It's for you to decide if you want to do it or not. I pity you for what happened to your family, and that's why I told you the plan. Of course, if you can move on, I'm more than glad to see everyone in this clan live in harmony." Lady Wang had made sure that she wasn't to be blamed. After all, she couldn't openly offend Feng Wu either. "Of course we can't move on. Sister-in-law, we'll be forever in your debt. We'll thank you properly once we're done with the second branch," Lady Gu said excitedly. Lady Wang nodded and left. Feng Wu had no idea that more than one group of people were plotting against her. She was quite happy right now. That was because she kept hearing these ding-dong sounds. If she was guessing right, those were the remainder of the ninjas being killed. There was a notification for every dead ninja. Emperor Wu was very effective. After he obtained the list, he started hunting down the ninjas. Feng Wu opened the log and saw. Chapter 2286 Untitled. Chapter 2286 Untitled. Feng Wu saw that many of the names had gone gray. There were 77 names in total, and most of them had turned gray. Only 3 were still bright red. They were the leaders of the Jupiter, Mercury, and Venus teams. Feng Wu frowned. From what she had learned so far, they should all be spiritual kings or higher. She had thought that the 3 names would soon turn gray. But no matter how long she stared at those names, they remained bright red. What was going on? Feng Wu bit her lower lip and imagined all the possibilities. Had Emperor Wu failed to catch those people? Had they escaped? She was racking her brain when she heard footsteps outside. "Xiao Wu." Chowga quickly walked into the room. She didn't know what had been going on in Fallen Star Yard, because it was an internal affair of the Feng clan. Considering it a humiliation, the people of the Feng clan tried their best to keep the incident a secret. Naturally, the Gu family didn't want other people to hear about it either. Gosh, I'm finally away from that family. It was so exhausting. Chowga sat down in a chair, took the tea Qiling handed her, and gulped it down. She then wiped her mouth with her sleeve and said grumpily, "You have no idea what my family is like. My dad and stepmother couldn't wait to throw me out. And my 2 stepsisters are even worse. But guess what? They're all fawning on me now. They even built a courtyard for me at home. And I get to choose the best things first." Chowga pursed her lips. "They're only doing that because they see my potential. It's too late." Qiling chuckled. "Miss Chowga, did you go home to humiliate them?" "Of course I did." Chowga was pleased. "What did they call me before? Useless, wasn't it? I shocked them all. I'm a level 7 spiritual elder." "Xiao Wu, you're even better than me. I bet those old men of the Feng clan are thrilled. I heard that your third uncle is back as well. Have they tried to suck up to you?" Feng Wu said. "Well." Chowga patted her shoulder and said, "I knew it. You're the future of the Feng clan." Feng Wu was about to tell her what had happened, but Chowga had already changed the subject. "Gosh, I almost forgot the most important thing." Feng Wu asked, "What?" Chowga said, "I went to Imperial College yesterday. Guess what?" Feng Wu said, "They let you skip a year." Chowga said, "Nothing gets past you." "Yes, I've left year 1. Qiling was excited. "Miss Chowga, are you in year 2 as well?" Feng Wu had entered year 2 before she left for the grassland. However, Chowga shook her head. "No, I'm past that." "OMG!" Qiling cried out. "So which year are you in?" Chapter 2287 Untitled. Chapter 2287, Untitled. Chowga gloated. "I don't know how I did it. Everything was so difficult before, but now it's all so easy. I rose straight to year 3. Qiling cried out in surprise. Chowga took Feng Wu's hand. "Xiao Wu, you're brilliant now. Why don't we take the exam together?" Feng Wu shook her head. "I've been busy with some family business recently. I don't have time for school stuff." Chowga said, "But..." She hesitated. Feng Wu glanced at her. "What?" Chowga said, But I told them that you would go to school and beat them all. I said that you would prove your capability." Feng Wu looked at her in resignation. Chowga said, "But they were insulting you. They have no idea what you're like at all, but they're still so mean. They said that you weren't even comparable to me or Qiling when in fact, you're so powerful. And guess what?" Chowga took Feng Wu's hand and asked angrily, "You have a cousin named Feng Qi, right?" Feng Wu asked, "Do you know her?" Chowga said, "I haven't dealt with her in person yet, but I know her name very well. Somehow, she's very hostile toward you. And those girls around her keep spreading rumors about you. Even Chief Qiao heard about it. He was angry when he heard that you didn't go to school after you came back, and said that he would expel you if you didn't go to school today." Feng Wu chuckled. "Just listen to that authoritative tone." Chowga said, "You don't say. Ever since Mr. Feng left, Chief Qiao started abusing his power again. At least in year 2, he can do whatever he wants." Feng Wu said, "What? Mr. Feng is gone?" Chowga asked, "Do you not know?" Feng Wu shook her head. "I've been busy since I came back and haven't had time to go and see Mr. Feng yet." Hearing that, Granny Zhao came out and said to Feng Wu, "Miss Wu, it's my fault. Grand Secretary Feng has indeed left the imperial capital, and he took your brother with him, saying that one should learn from traveling the world. Here's his letter for you." Granny Zhao was very frustrated. Had it not been for the third branch, she would never have forgotten such an important thing. Feng Wu took the letter and quickly read it. She couldn't help but frown. That made everyone nervous. Chowga asked, "What did Grand Secretary Feng say?" Feng Wu showed her the letter. Chowga read it and was confused. Grand Secretary Feng said that he's going to see some old friends and show Xiaoqi the world. What's wrong with that? Feng Wu shook her head. Grand Secretary Fong is a very upright and calm man. If he had a choice, he would wait for me to come back before he left with Xiaoqi. If he rushed off like this, something must have happened. But what could it be? Feng Wu bit her lip. She had no clue at all. What about Xiaoqi? Chao was worried. Feng Wu shook her head. He should be fine. But since that's the case, I think I have to go to school now. Chapter 2288 Untitled. Chapter 2288 Untitled. Hence, Feng Wu went to Imperial College with Chao. In initial of year 2. As soon as Feng Wu entered, someone in the group of people walking toward her spotted her. Feng Wu. Song Yichen cried out. You're really back. Feng Wu found him a little familiar, but couldn't remember who he was. Don't you remember me? Song Yichen wasn't very happy. After all, here in initial he was one of the top students. He smiled bitterly and said, I used to be 7th on the billboard. That's one place higher than you. We met at the Immortal Flower Festival. Have you forgotten? Before Feng Wu could answer, a girl walked to Song Yichen's side and sneered at Feng Wu. I was wondering who it was. So it's Feng Wu the genius, the 8th student on the billboard. Her friends around her chuckled. Yichen, you've made great progress in the past 6 months, but she... The girl glanced at Feng Wu and smirked. Her friends laughed with her. Xiao Er, don't say that, said Song Yichen. Miss Feng Wu is very talented. She's probably made great progress as well. Great progress? If that's the case, she wouldn't be even weaker than her maid. I can't believe that she's even bold enough to come here to Imperial College. I heard that she's even weaker than Duan Chaoga, her little friend. Duan Chaoga has surpassed us, and is a year 3 student now. That's right. She's so much more capable than Feng Wu now. I wonder if Feng Wu will become her minion instead. That'll be hilarious. And there's Feng Qi. Isn't she Feng Wu's younger cousin? She's ranked 2nd in year 2 now. If Feng Wu is even weaker than Feng Qi, why does she even have the courage to be alive? Isn't she ashamed to be called a genius? Xiao Er. Song Yichen frowned. He didn't want to hear such things. Who are you? Chaoga asked coldly. She had skipped year 2, so she didn't know any of the year 2 students. Who are you? Xiao Er asked arrogantly. She was quite an influential figure in year 2. I'm the so-called minion of Feng Wu. Chaoga smirked. Tell me your name. Xiao Er's stomach lurched. She hadn't expected to meet Chaoga in such a way. Chief Qiao is my dad, and Miss Qiao is my sister. Do you know what that means? Xiao Er said proudly. What can you possibly do to me? Chaoga frowned. Xiao Er gloated. Her father was the ruler of initial. Even Chaoga couldn't do anything. However, to her surprise, Chaoga slowly walked up to her and grinned. Before Xiao Er could do anything, Chaoga raised her right hand. Chapter 2289 Untitled. Chapter 2289 Untitled. Smack! Chaoga slapped Xiao Er. It had never occurred to Xiao Er that Chaoga would hit her, and it took her a moment to digest it. How dare you hit me? Chaoga glanced at her. Given what you just said, you deserve it. Say one more bad thing about Xiao Wu, and I'll hit you again. Xiao Er burst into tears. You're dead. My father is Chief Qiao, the head of initial. No year 2 student would dare to offend Chief Qiao, since he had the right to kick them out. Chaoga grinned. Chief Qiao? I'm so scared. Someone said at that moment, Duan Chaoga? Isn't she the Duan Chaoga who skipped year 2 and rose to year 3 directly? Yes, that's her. She's also a genius now. She doesn't need to come to initial. Of course she's not afraid of Chief Qiao. Xiao Er can't threaten her with anything. Xiao Er heard all those words. The girl really was Duan Chaoga, the new genius. Filled with jealousy, Xiao Er stared at Chaoga. So you're Duan Chaoga. Can you answer a question for me? She snorted before Chaoga could say anything. You used to be Feng Wu's minion, but you're in year 3 now, and Feng Wu is only a year 2 student. She's even weaker than her own cousin. Between the two of you, who's the master now? That was a very mean thing to say. And Xiao Er was trying to drive a wedge between Feng Wu and Chaoga. She believed that all geniuses were arrogant, And as a new genius, Chaoga should hate Feng Wu. She didn't believe that the two girls could still be friends. Xiao Er wanted to start a fight between Feng Wu and Chaoga. Chaoga gave her a "you idiot" look. Xiao Er was confused. Chaoga rolled her eyes and said, "I've never heard such a stupid excuse. Are you really trying to drive a wedge between me and Xiao Wu?" Xiao Er said, "Did you just call me stupid?" Chaoga said, "I can't even be bothered to answer your question, but there's something I want to say." "What?" Everyone looked at her curiously. Chaoga looked around at them and grinned. "I swear on my own blood that I'll follow Feng Wu for as long as I'm alive. If I betray her, I'll be like this sword." She then drew out Xiao Er's sword and snapped the blade in half. "I think that answers your question." Chaoga looked around at the crowd. "What?" Everyone was shocked. "Duan Chaoga, have you lost your mind? Do you know what you're talking about? Duan Chaoga, you're a whole stage more advanced than Feng Wu. Why do you want to follow her? You must be crazy." "You're the crazy ones," said Chaoga. "Yes, I'm a level 7 spiritual elder now, but I only reached this level because of Xiao Wu. You people will never understand." Chapter 2290 Untitled. Chapter 2290 Untitled. Chaoga was telling the truth, but no one would believe her. Because of the conflict, more people kept gathering around. After they heard that Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga were here, even more people came. Right now Feng Qi was second on the billboard. Song Yichen was 7th, Ning Yao 6th, Xu Yinrua 5th, Zhao Xingji 4th, Wu Yu 3rd, and the youngest son of the Gu family was 1st. Brother Wu, seeing Wu Yu, Xiao Er rushed to his side and took his hand. "They're bullying me." Wu Yu was Chief Qiao's favorite student, which was why Xiao Er had singled him out. Wu Yu smiled bitterly. He had been hiding in the crowd and had heard the conversation between Duan Chaoga and Xiao Er. Thus, he knew how Xiao Er had made a fool of herself. He would have helped Xiao Er already if he had wanted to. Chaoga glanced at Wu Yu and rolled up her sleeves. "Do you want to help her out?" Wu Yu smiled weakly and shook his head. "Miss Duan, you skipped year 2 and entered year 3 directly after the battle yesterday. Everyone knows that. Of course, I'm not bold enough to challenge you." He didn't have a death wish. There was no way that he could defeat a level 7 spiritual elder. Chaoga glanced at the crowd. "What about you people? Anyone?" No one replied. Because of what she had achieved the day before, no one dared to challenge her. Chaoga smirked and said, "If you can't even fight me, how dare you say those things about Xiao Wu? She's much more capable than all of you." "Really?" Everyone looked at Feng Wu suspiciously. "May I ask what Miss Feng Wu's level is?" Chaoga didn't know if Feng Wu wanted to reveal her true capability, so she said, "Take a wild guess. Is she a level 8 spiritual elder?" Chaoga shook her head. "Level 9. Chaoga still shook her head. "A level 1 spiritual lord." Chaoga shook her head again. "Level 3 then." Chaoga sneered at the person. "Is that what you think of Xiao Wu? You people are so narrow-minded." Narrow-minded. Everyone gave her strange looks. If they had had speculations about Feng Wu's capability before, they now believed that Chaoga was bluffing. "A level 3 spiritual lord? Chaoga, you're full of bullshit." Other people chimed in. The crowd laughed. Even Xu Yunrua, who had helped Feng Wu before, rubbed his nose and said, "Miss Duan, I would have believed you if you said that she's a level 8 or level 9 spiritual elder. But beyond a level 3 spiritual lord? That's..." Wu Yu also smiled wryly. "Miss Duan, that's a bit over the top." Everyone else nodded. The top 10 students all knew how difficult it was to make a breakthrough. Chaoga smirked. "You'll soon know what a real genius is." Unfortunately, no one believed her. Just then someone said, "If Miss Feng Wu is so powerful now, why doesn't she take the test?" That's right. She's still 8th here in initial. If she's even stronger than a level 3 spiritual lord. Chapter 2291 Untitled. Chapter 2291, Untitled. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed when they heard level 3 spiritual lord. Shall we call her Lord Wu from now on? Why Lord Wu? Didn't she say that she's a spiritual lord? Ha 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 ha. Everyone burst into laughter. Even Song Yichen and the others who held no grudges against Feng Wu shook their heads, thinking that Chaoga was only bluffing. Xu Yinrua shook his head. Why do I feel that Miss Duan is telling the truth? Xu Yinrua, seriously? Do you actually believe her? Do you even know what a level 3 spiritual lord is like? Someone at that level is powerful enough to be the head of a small clan. But I have faith in Feng Wu. Xu Yinrua frowned. What a fool! Everyone else shook their heads. Feng Wu already grew tired of hearing such words. If they behaved this way when they heard about a level 3 spiritual lord, would they be frightened to death if they knew that she was actually a level 9 spiritual lord? She decided not to scare them for the time being. She was about to leave with Chaoga, because she was here for some serious business. Brother Gu, she's right there. Feng Wu heard a familiar voice. Was that Feng Qi? The crowd parted, and two people stepped forward. Brother Gu, she's the one who bullied me. Feng Qi stood next to a teenager, who was glaring at Feng Wu. All eyes were on Feng Qi and the teenager. She's Feng Qi, the new student, isn't she? That's right. I heard that she's Feng Wu's cousin. I heard that the two cousins aren't on friendly terms, and Feng Wu used to pick on Feng Qi all the time. That teenager is Gu Xingqing, isn't he? He's the most talented student in Initial. Gosh, it really is him. What's his relationship with Feng Qi? Are they a couple? No, they're not. I think the Feng family is related to the Gu family by marriage. Yes, that's it. Feng Qi's mother is from the Gu family, the one that has 6 young geniuses. What 6 geniuses? Gu Xingqing is the genius of year 2. If he hadn't been cultivating in seclusion for so long, he would have risen to year 3 already. Isn't he a genius? Of course he is. He's the 6th son of his father, and he has 5 brothers, each more talented than the next. My father says that the Gu family is so amazing that they'll rise among the 10 major clans as well. Their future is so promising. Feng Qi is Gu Xingqing's cousin, and he'll surely be on her side. Feng Wu is in trouble. But won't Duan Chaoga help her? Duan Chaoga is quite capable, but she can only fight one person at a time, while Gu Xingqing still has 5 brothers. Then Feng Wu is doomed. Chapter 2292 Untitled. Chapter 2292, Untitled. The crowd had been suspicious about Feng Wu's cultivation level after hearing what Chaoga said. They couldn't wait to see someone prove that Chaoga had been lying. Therefore, they pinned all their hopes on Gu Xingqing. Brother Gu, that's her. Feng Qi pointed at Feng Wu. She hung me up on a pole and cut off my mother's hand. Brother Gu, you have to get revenge for me. Feng Qi had been behaving like an adorable little sister since she was very young, and her older cousins all liked her very much. Hearing what had happened to his favorite cousin and his aunt, Gu Xingqing couldn't stand it anymore. Wow, it's Gu Xingqing, the top student of Initial. I heard that he already has the ability to go to year 3, and he's only still here because he was cultivating in seclusion. Which one do you think is more capable, Feng Wu or Gu Xingqing? What was his level before he went into seclusion? Ning Yao asked Song Yichen. Song Yichen rubbed his nose. He was a level 6B spiritual elder. Ning Yao said, so his level was below Duan Chaoga's current level. Song Yichen shook his head. That was back then. He went into seclusion for a whole year, and I don't know what level he's at now. Ning Yao shook his head. I don't know either. So you're Feng Wu? Gu Xingqing walked up to Duan Chaoga. Because Feng Wu had hidden her cultivation level with the concealing jade, Gu Xingqing couldn't detect her spiritual essence at all. On the other hand, Chaoga was giving off some very dense and pure spiritual essence. Feng Qi was about to speak, when Gu Xingqing glanced at Chaoga and smirked. A level 7 spiritual elder? Not bad. Everyone looked at him in amazement. Brother Gu, that one is Feng Wu. Feng Qi turned him toward Feng Wu. Her. Gu Xingqing glanced at Feng Wu and frowned. She's useless. Why do you need me? Those words were proof enough of how weak Feng Wu was. Many people heaved a sigh of relief. When Chaoga said that Feng Wu was so powerful, although they expressed doubt, deep down, they still thought that she might be telling the truth. Now that Gu Xingqing had said that, they now knew for sure. Brother Gu, she might be weak, but she's very cunning. Otherwise, those things wouldn't have happened to my family. Please help me. Feng Qi knew perfectly well how capable Feng Wu really was. Even her father couldn't defeat Feng Wu, let alone Gu Xingqing. But she had to get Gu Xingqing involved. Once Gu Xingqing became part of the conflict, his 5 brothers, and the entire Gu family, would be involved as well. That was the plan she and her mother had come up with the night before. Gu Xingqing had never imagined that his favorite cousin would drag him into a trap. He glanced at Feng Wu. Did you bully my cousin? Feng Wu smiled. Yes, I did. SSSS. Everyone thought that Feng Wu had lost her mind. Why would she provoke the top student of year 2? Chapter 2293 Untitled. Chapter 2293, Untitled. Feng Wu. Xu Yunruo wanted to warn Feng Wu. Gu Xingqing gave Xu Yunruo an arrogant glance, and turned to Feng Wu. Fine. Since you've admitted it, you'll have to live with the consequences. Gu Xingqing's tone was very calm, as if he was only asking Feng Wu to drink a glass of water. He struck down at her with his sword. How dare you? Before Feng Wu could react, Chaoge charged at him. She drew out her sword. Clang! Gu Xingqing stumbled back as Chaoge advanced toward him. They were about the same level, and the battle turned into a stalemate. How did this happen? Gu Xingqing glared at Duan Chaoge. Aren't you a level 7 spiritual elder? Chaoge said, I'm sorry, but I made a breakthrough yesterday. The crowd was speechless. What? Was she a level 8 spiritual elder now? How could she make it sound so easy? What medicine did you take? Ningyao couldn't help but ask. Chaoge said casually, that medicine is called Feng Wu. Ningyao said, what? Chaoge said, if you have the chance to learn from Xiao Wu, she can help you become a spiritual lord, let alone a level 8 spiritual elder. Everyone rolled their eyes at her. They still thought that she was bluffing. Chaoge said, I'm telling the truth, but you just won't believe me. Gu Xingqing stared at Chaoge. A level 8 spiritual elder? I've misjudged you then. Chaoge said, I forgive you for that. By the way, they all say that you were a level 7 spiritual elder before you went into seclusion, but it's been a year. So why are you only a level 8 spiritual elder? Only. Gu Xingqing was furious. The crowd was speechless. Once a person reached the spiritual elder stage, it became very difficult to make progress. Why did she make it sound so easy? Gu Xingqing charged at Chaoge without saying another word. Thump, thump, thump. They exchanged a few blows in the air, sending rocks and sand flying everywhere. In the end, they clashed with each other. When the dust in the air finally settled down, the crowd was shocked by what they saw. Shit. No way. Am I seeing things? They couldn't believe their eyes. Chaoge was standing there with her foot on someone's face. On the face. That was very humiliating. The person lying on the ground was none other than Gu Xingqing. Is that really Gu Xingqing? Isn't he a level 8 spiritual elder? He's our top student. While everyone was shouting in surprise, Xu Yunruo looked at Feng Wu with sparkling eyes. Feng Wu stood there with her hands behind her back, but there was something so brilliant about her that Xu Yunruo couldn't look away. She wasn't the most capable student here, but why was she so attractive? Xu Yunruo was infatuated. Meanwhile, Chaoge stomped on Gu Xingqing's face and said, Are you going to surrender or not? Gu Xingqing's eyes were so red that they seemed to be bleeding. What a humiliation. For the first time in his life, someone was stepping on his face. Chapter 2294 Untitled. Chapter 2294 Untitled. He had never been so humiliated before. I won't surrender. Kill me if you dare. Gu Xingqing smirked. Chaoge said, Great. If that's your wish. Feng Qi was elated. Feng Wu cleared her throat at that moment. Chaoge suddenly calmed down. She remembered Feng Wu had told her that she shouldn't kill other people here. I would definitely have killed you, if not for Xiao Wu's reminder. Chaoge gave Gu Xingqing one last glance before going back to Feng Wu's side. However, when she let her guard down, Die! Gu Xingqing kicked, aiming his foot at Chaoga's neck. Feng Wu saw something glinting and knew that he was up to no good. There was a blade in the sole of Gu Xingqing's shoe. He wanted to cut Chaoga's artery. The crowd all realized that as well. Chaoga had spared his life, but he showed no gratitude at all. Everyone was shocked. Of course, Feng Wu wouldn't let that happen. No one saw how Feng Wu did it, because all their attention was on Gu Xingqing and Chaoga. They were about the same level, and Gu Xingqing had taken Chaoga by surprise. By the time Chaoga realized what was happening, it was too late. Chaoga was going to die. Everyone felt the same way. But Feng Wu struck out. How dare you? By the time everyone saw what was going on, Feng Wu was at Chaoga's side. She pulled Chaoga out of the way as she kicked Gu Xingqing. Ah! People heard someone screaming loudly. When they saw what had happened, they sucked in their breaths. Gu Xingqing was screaming. OMG! Gu Xingqing Isn't he the top student on the billboard of initial? He hasn't been challenged for years. But what just happened? The top 10 students were the most shocked. Song Yichen, Ning Yao, Xu Yunrua, and Zhao Xingji were all among the top 10, and were ranked higher than Feng Wu. However, that kick. Not only did Feng Wu kick Gu Xingqing away, she shocked the crowd as well. Song Yichen's eyes widened. I don't know. I can't believe it. Ning Yao said, Isn't Feng Wu a level 7 spiritual elder only? How could she? Xu Yunrua said, Does this mean that Feng Wu is the top student in initial now? Everyone looked perplexed. They recalled how they had doubted Feng Wu. Thump! Gu Xingqing fell to the ground. He fell from so high up in the sky that the impact created a deep crater in the ground. It took him a long while to climb out. His clothes were covered with blood, and his eyes were bloodshot red. Feng! He started coughing violently before he could say Feng Wu's name. Everyone gave him sympathetic looks before they turned to look at Feng Wu in fear. Chapter 2295 Untitled. Chapter 2295, Untitled. Chaoga moved before Feng Wu could say anything. She walked up to Gu Xingqing and stepped on his face. You ungrateful bastard. I spared your life, and this is how you repay me. You would have killed me if Xiao Wu hadn't saved me. I won't have it. She stomped hard on Gu Xingqing's head, and was going to crack it open. Stop! Someone shouted angrily. A streak of sword energy charged at Chaoga from behind. It was formidable. Chaoga felt a chill run down her spine, and an invisible rope seemed to wrap itself around her. She wanted to dodge, but couldn't move a muscle. Whoosh! A sword flew at Chaoga from behind. The blade was going to punch a hole in her body. Everyone watched in terror. They wanted to say something or fall back. But the power was so formidable that they couldn't even raise a finger. The tip of the sword was so close to Chaoga's back. Gu Xingqing had a crooked smile on his face. Because Feng Qi was leading someone in his direction. Feng Qi smirked as well. Feng Wu, once Duan Chaoga is dead, you're next. Blame yourself. You shouldn't have messed with the Gu family. But everyone thought that Chaoga was going to die. And Chaoga felt the same. At that moment, Feng Wu suddenly reached for the flying sword. With her bare hand. What? Everyone was shocked. The sword alone could freeze everyone on the spot, and its owner had to be very capable. The person had to be a spiritual lord at least. Had Feng Wu lost her mind? She was going to lose her hand. Song Yichen and his friends looked at one another in resignation. Wait, why could they move their heads? Before they could figure out what was going on, something unforgettable happened. They saw Feng Wu's slender fingers. But instead of being destroyed by the power, her fingers caught the sword intent. Feng Wu then turned toward the newcomer. Song Yichen blurted out, Did she catch the sword? Ning Yao rubbed his eyes. OMG, is Feng Wu even human? The newcomer was also astonished. Feng Qi's stomach lurched. It's Gu Xingyan, Gu Xingqing's fifth brother. Zhao Xingji whispered. He's in year 3, and I heard that he's one of the top students as well. The Gu family has many talented members, and most of the 6 brothers are here in Imperial College. If one of them is bullied, the others will all come to his aid. No one here dares to mess with any of them, Wu Yi said with a frown. Song Yichen said. But Feng Wu is amazing. She just caught the sword with her bare hand. Wu Yu said. So what? Gu Xingyan is already a level 1 spiritual lord. How can Feng Wu possibly be his match? Chapter 2296 Untitled. Chapter 2296 Untitled. A level 1 spiritual lord? Everyone looked at Wu Yu. Is he so capable now? Wu Yu sighed. I heard that he was at that level a year ago. Maybe he's made a breakthrough already. Everyone was speechless. Then he'll be so capable. Feng Wu will never be his match. That's only normal. I'd be surprised if she can defeat him, Wu Yu said slowly. Everyone has to be responsible for their own behavior. Feng Wu beat up Gu Xingqing. And of course, Gu Xingyan will take revenge for his brother. What he said made sense, but still, many people felt sorry for Feng Wu. By then, Gu Xingyan had walked up to Duan Chaoga and struck down with his fist. He wanted to kill her. Chaoga was frozen on the spot and couldn't dodge the attack. Feng Wu pulled her back. Gu Xingyan missed his target. He looked up and glared at Feng Wu. Gu Xingqing spat out a mouthful of blood, and Feng Qi quickly helped him to his feet. Brother, she insulted me. Gu Xingqing took a big breath. As long as she's alive, I'll have an obstacle in my mind. He couldn't have made it any clearer. If Feng Wu was alive, he wouldn't make any more progress in his cultivation. Gu Xingyan's eyes glinted coldly. He asked Feng Wu, "Did you hear that?" The pressure he gave off made the crowd step back. The ground cracked under his feet. How terrifying. Song Yichen was worried about Feng Wu, so he whispered, "Feng Wu, just apologize." The others nodded as well. Apologize now, and maybe he would spare her life. If she offended the Gu family, she would be doomed. But, to everyone's surprise, Feng Wu wasn't scared. Not only that, she also raised her chin and gave Gu Xingyan an indifferent glance. She was even smiling, as if she wasn't afraid of death at all. Gu Xingyan was provoked by her attitude as well. Fine. You asked for it. It's not the Gu family's fault. Gu Xingyan smirked. Since you're a girl, I'll use 3 strikes only. You can walk away if you're still alive after that. After that, he raised his hand. Boom. He struck down with his fist. Rumble. The entire square was covered by darkness, and the energy was terrifying. Gu Xingyan landed like a heavenly god. He struck out. The energy in his strike was ferocious. It seemed to create ripples around him. Even the air seemed to warp. What a strike! That was the force of a spiritual lord. The energy turned into magma and rushed toward Feng Wu. Seeing this, the crowd was so nervous that they bit their lower lips. Some of them liked Feng Wu, while others didn't. Chapter 2297 Untitled. Chapter 2297 Untitled. Some of them revered Feng Wu, and some hated her. They reacted differently when they saw that Feng Wu was going to die. Feng Qi clenched her fists and watched the fight with an unblinking gaze. Die! Please let Feng Wu die. She was both nervous and excited. But Duan Chaoga wasn't nervous. When she sensed the attack, she fell back voluntarily, so that she wouldn't be in Feng Wu's way. Seeing this, Gu Xingqing smirked. He thought that Feng Wu's best friend had abandoned her. But his smile soon froze on his face. Because Feng Wu moved. No one knew how she did it, but by the time they realized it, Feng Wu was nowhere to be seen. She only reappeared when the energy dissipated. He looked at Feng Wu, and there seemed to be a smirk on her face. Gu Xingyan sucked in his breath. How did this happen? He had used 70% of his full capability with that strike, but the girl had evaded his attack. Without another word, he struck out again. This time, he used his full capability. However, Feng Wu dodged his attack again. Gu Xingyan was speechless. So was everyone else. What the heck? How did Feng Wu do it? Brother, stop pitying her. There's no time for that. Gu Xingqing was displeased. Gu Xingyan didn't say anything, because he had already used all his might. Just then Chaoga said, Xiao Wu, pitying these people will only make them look down on you. Show them what you've got. That'll convince them. Gu Xingqing sneered at her. Stop bluffing already, Chao said. You'll be begging for your life. As Gu Xingqing and Chao bickered, Gu Xingyun's face darkened. He had said that he would only strike 3 times, but his first 2 strikes hadn't even touched Feng Wu's clothes. He took a deep breath and said, "You're making me do this." Feng Wu said, "Do what?" Gu Xingyun said, "I only know one stance of the 3rd strike. It's the great skill of the Gu family, and I've only started learning it. I can't control it very well. If you're unlucky, you may die." Feng Wu raised her eyebrows. "What if you die from it?" Gu Xingyun said, "What?" Feng Wu said, "Since you can't control it well enough, what if you kill yourself with it? Your family can't blame me for that." Hearing this, Gu Xingqing burst into laughter. "Feng Wu, you're hilarious. How can my brother possibly injure himself with his own strike? You must be dreaming." Feng Wu ignored him, and only kept her gaze on Gu Xingyun. There was a meaningful smile on her face. That look gave Gu Xingyun the creeps. She was way too calm. He had never met anyone as confident as she was. Chapter 2298 Untitled. Chapter 2298, Untitled. However, he would never believe that Feng Wu could injure him with his own strike. "If my strike backfires, I'll only have myself to blame, but I don't think that's possible." Gu Xingyun snorted. He raised his hand before he finished speaking. "Great dragon." Gu Xingyun finally drew out his sword. He pointed at the sky. The sword energy turned into a golden dragon. The dragon roared and charged at Feng Wu from above. Oh God! How terrifying! Although the energy wasn't targeting the crowd, they were still chilled to the bone. Is that what a level 1 spiritual lord is like? Song Yichen asked involuntarily. No, Feng Qi said in satisfaction. Brother Xingyun is a level 2 spiritual lord. She was looking forward to what would happen next. Her father came to rescue her when Feng Wu hung her up on the pole. He was a level 1 spiritual lord, but he wasn't Feng Wu's match. Gu Xingyun was a level 2 spiritual lord, and he would definitely win. A level 2 spiritual lord. Oh God. Everyone felt sorry for Feng Wu. She had offended some very formidable people. She was doomed. However, to everyone's surprise, while Gu Xingyun was controlling the giant dragon in midair, Feng Wu casually waved her hand. She barely used any effort. But, with that wave, the dragon turned around and charged at Gu Xingyun instead. What the heck? The crowd was perplexed. So was Gu Xingyun. He panicked. Go! He tried to control the dragon. However, the dragon was out of his control and went on moving toward him in a ferocious manner. Dissipate! Gu Xingyun was panic-stricken. Since he couldn't use the dragon to kill Feng Wu, he decided to make it disintegrate. However, after years of working on the stance, Gu Xingyun didn't expect that it would go out of control. It wouldn't respond to his command. Thump! In the end, he had to watch as the dragon that contained his full capability ran into him. The dragon contained a power that was as formidable as a hurricane. Everyone saw the series of explosions. Thump! 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 It went on and on. Oh God! Feng Qi covered her mouth and her eyes widened. She shook from head to toe. She couldn't believe it. That was impossible. Gu Xingyun was already a level 2 spiritual lord. How? Without thinking, she dashed off. The crowd was too astonished to notice that she had run away. Thump! In the end, Gu Xingyun fell to the ground. Brother Xingyun. Gu Xingqing stumbled to his side and looked at his brother in disbelief. Gu Xingyun's clothes were ragged, and he was covered with countless open wounds. Chapter 2299 Untitled. Chapter 2299, Untitled. Gu Xingyun wanted to speak, but he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. No one made a sound. They looked from the severely wounded Gu Xingyun to the calm Feng Wu. Gu Xingqing glared at Feng Wu. You're dead. I mean it. Although Feng Wu had won the battle, the others only felt sorry for her. Because just as Gu Xingqing had said, she really had offended the Gu brothers. Song Yichen whispered, Run while you can before the other Gu brothers arrive. Feng Wu only shook her head and smiled. Their fourth brother is a top student in year 3. Ning Yao said anxiously. I hear that he's already a level 3 spiritual lord. He'll kill you. Song Yichen said. Their third brother is in year 4. And the older ones will keep coming. How are you going to fight them all? Just run. Just then, someone ran to their side and whispered something to Chaoga before handing her a note. Chaoga read it and was shocked. She immediately handed it to Feng Wu. Feng Wu read it. It was from Uncle Chiao. It said, Qiuling's life is in danger. Come back to Fallen Star Yard. Feng Wu paled. She and Qiuling grew up together, and she had always considered Qiuling a friend. Without hesitation, she told Chaoga, let's go. They soon dashed off. By the time the crowd realized it, they had turned into little dots in the distance. That was fast. Someone said, it seems that Feng Wu really is scared. Of course she is. The Gu family has 6 brothers. To offend one is to offend them all. I saw Feng Qi run off. She must have gone to find the other brothers. Luckily, Feng Wu got away in time. Feng Wu didn't care what other people said about her. She and Chaoga quickly returned to Fallen Star Yard, and she walked into the room to find Qiuling lying on the bed. Qiuling had always been a lively girl, but now, she looked like she could fade away at any moment. Feng Wu was shocked and took her hand. She quickly checked her pulse. She frowned. Had it not been for Qiuling's ultimate Yin body, she would have lost her cultivation ability already. She then saw that Qiuling's right hand had been cut off at the wrist. Feng Wu was shocked. Was it the Gu family? Blue veins popped on Feng Wu's forehead. With Qiuling's ultimate Yin body, she could make great achievements in the future. But now, her hand had been cut off. It was the same as Lady Gu. So it didn't take a genius to figure out who the culprit was. Uncle Chiao fought back his anger and said quietly, Qiuling went out to do some grocery shopping this morning. But it took her forever to come back. When I went to look for her, I found her by the side of the road, and she was already like this. Chapter 2300 Untitled. Chapter 2300 Untitled. Where's that hand? Feng Wu forced back her rage. She knew that the most important thing now was to reattach Qiuling's hand. Everything else could wait. It's right here. Uncle Chiao had been with Feng Wu long enough to trust her medical skills. Before Feng Wu asked, he handed her the hand that was wrapped in a clean cloth. He said, we didn't dare wash it. We just kept it wrapped like this. Feng Wu nodded. This hand would be useless if you washed it. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened her eyes, she looked completely calm. Without another word, she took out her medical kit and started reattaching Qiuling's severed hand. With her medical skills, she could use the plant essence to do the job, but she didn't do that. Because if she did, there was a chance that necrosis would happen. Qiuling still had to cultivate in the future, and her hands were very important. Feng Wu would never allow such a thing to happen. Therefore, she used modern surgical methods to reattach Qiuling's hand before treating it with the plant essence. That way it would be more effective. By the time she was done, an hour had passed. Feng Wu had maintained a very serious face the whole time, and the atmosphere in the house was very tense. Granny Zhao didn't dare make a sound. Feng Wu finally walked out of Qiuling's room. Miss Wu, how's Qiuling? Granny Zhao and Uncle Chiao had always thought of Qiuling as their daughter, and they were very concerned. Feng Wu looked furious. She'll be fine probably, but I still need to keep an eye on her. She then asked Uncle Chiao. The attacker injured her as payback. Was there a message? Granny Zhao handed Feng Wu a note. This fell out of Qiuling's clothes when I was changing. Feng Wu read the note. I cut off your maid's hand and destroyed her cultivation ability. Come and get me, I dare you. Gu Xingyuan. Gu Xingyuan? Chaoga cried out. I know him. He's the third Gu brother. I heard his name as soon as I entered year 3. He's quite high up on the billboard. I think he's a level 3 spiritual lord. Feng Wu grabbed the fire dragon rod and dashed off without another word. Xiao Wu, where are you going? Chaoga ran after her. Are you going to find Gu Xingyuan? I saw Feng Qi run off just then, and she must have gone to him for help. Gu Xingyuan is probably in year 2 now. Feng Wu had been headed for year 3, but hearing Chaoge's reminder, she went to year 2 instead. Meanwhile, Feng Qi actually went to find Gu Xingming, the 4th brother. As for Gu Xingyuan, no one had seen him after Feng Qi complained to him that morning about her mother's severed hand. When Feng Qi and Gu Xingming arrived at year 2, Feng Wu wasn't there. This time, Feng Qi had brought 4 other students apart from Gu Xingming. All 4 of them were from year 3, and they were here to watch the fight. Where's Feng Wu? Having found her help, Feng Qi was anxious to find Feng Wu. Chapter 2301 Untitled. Chapter 2301, Untitled. Song Yichen rubbed his nose and wanted to slip away. But Feng Qi had an eye on him. You. She pointed at Song Yichen. I saw you mumbling with Feng Wu earlier. She's your friend, isn't she? Where did she go? Tell me. Song Yichen shrugged. Hey, be reasonable. Feng Qi smirked. I don't care what your relationship is. If Feng Wu doesn't show up today, I'll beat you up instead. It's just not your lucky day. Hey! Song Yichen was furious. That didn't make any sense at all. Seeing Gu Xingqing and Gu Xingyan, Gu Xingming frowned and walked up to them. What happened? It was Feng Wu. Gu Xingqing's condition had improved, so he gritted his teeth and said, It was all because of Feng Wu. She injured Feng Qi and our aunt and destroyed their home. And now she injured me and Xingyan. Brother Xingming, you have to teach her a lesson. On their way here, Feng Qi had said a lot of bad things about Feng Wu, so Gu Xingming had already formed his own opinion. He asked, Where is she? She's gone. Gu Xingqing smirked. But she won't get away. Let's go to the Feng clan. If they refuse to give her up, we'll take their houses apart. Seeing his injured brothers, and the humiliation they had suffered, Gu Xingming nodded. Let's go. Where are you going? Gu Xingming turned around to see a stunning girl standing in front of him. She wore a red dress and looked furious. Feng Wu. Gu Xingming didn't know who she was, but everyone else was looking at her in astonishment. Didn't you run off? Why are you back? Song Yichen was concerned. Now that Gu Xingming was here, Gu Xingyuan would follow. Feng Wu would die. Feng Yi ignored Song Yichen. She asked Gu Xingming, Are you Gu Xingyuan? Gu Xingming shook his head. I'm Gu Xingming, their 4th brother. Feng Wu frowned. I don't want to beat you up. Get Gu Xingyuan here. Everyone sucked in their breaths. What did she mean by not wanting to beat him up? She sounded as if she could beat up whoever she wanted. Song Yichen buried his face in his hands. He also thought that Feng Wu was bluffing. The Gu brothers were shocked at first, but they soon realized what she had said. Gu Xingyan had passed out. Gu Xingqing snorted and gave Feng Wu a contemptuous look. As for Gu Xingming, he sneered at Feng Wu. Brother Xingyuan is in year 4, and you're only a year 2 student. You must be dreaming if you want to challenge him. Because of what had happened to Qiuling, Feng Wu was furious with the whole Gu family. She said, Then I'll beat you up first. She charged at him. She was using the fire dragon rod, and anyone hit by the rod would find it impossible to get away. Word soon got out that Feng Wu was fighting Gu Xingming. In Chief Qiao's office in year 2, someone had already gone there to deliver the news. That person was none other than Qiao Er, Chief Qiao's 2nd daughter. Chapter 2302 Untitled. Chapter 2302 Untitled. Dad! Dad! Feng Wu is fighting again. Chief Qiao had never liked Feng Wu. Since Chief Lu, who liked Feng Wu, had gone traveling, there was nothing Chief Qiao needed to worry about. He sipped his tea and glanced at Qiao Er. Feng Wu? Do you mean the one who's 8th on the billboard? There are 7 students ranked above her, aren't there? Let them discipline her. Dad! Feng Wu is fighting the Gu brothers. Qiao Er said excitedly. Chief Qiao asked, Which Gu brothers? Qiao Er said, Which other Gu brothers can they be? The 6 geniuses, of course. Chief Qiao said, I'm asking because the youngest of the Gu brothers is already the top student in year 2, and Feng Wu is only 8th. How can she possibly fight him? You should say that Feng Wu is getting beaten up by the brothers, not fighting them. Qiao Er said, It's not like that, Dad. Feng Wu has already defeated Gu Xingqing and Gu Xingyan. She's fighting Gu Xingming now. What? Chief Qiao only came to his senses then. What do you mean she defeated Gu Xingyan and Gu Xingqing? Qiao Er said. What else can I mean? Gu Xingqing and Gu Xingyan have been beaten up. That's impossible. Qiao Yi came into the room at the moment, and she shook her head when she heard what Qiao Er said. Feng Wu is only 8th on the billboard. Sister, don't make up stories. Qiao Er snapped. Do you think I want to sing her praises? I want Feng Wu to stay at that level too. I want her to be a level 7 spiritual elder forever. However, she's made huge progress in the few months that she was gone. There's nothing I can do. Qiao Yi frowned. Did Feng Wu make huge progress? I thought that was Duan Chaoga. Qiao Er said. Yes, Duan Chaoga is much more capable now. But for some reason, so is Feng Wu. Qiao Yi said. But Feng Wu's already broken through once. It can't be happening again. What level is she now? A level 9 spiritual elder? Qiao Er said reluctantly. Gu Xingqing is the top student in year 2. And he's a level 8 spiritual elder. Chief Qiao and Qiao Yi nodded in unison. Qiao Er said. But Feng Wu severely injured Gu Xingqing. Qiao Yi said. That is to say Feng Wu is a level 9 spiritual elder, right? Qiao Er glanced at her. She seemed to see herself in her sister. Qiao Er also wished that Feng Wu was much less capable, but in fact, Gu Xingyan came to back his brother up, but Feng Wu almost killed him, Qiao Er said reluctantly. Gu Xingyan is one of the top students in year 3, and Qiao Yi looked at her father. Chief Qiao rubbed his chin. He's a level 1 spiritual lord. Qiao Yi sucked in a breath. That is to say Feng Wu is a level 1 spiritual lord now. Qiao Er looked at her silently. Qiao Yi had to raise her estimation a little. A level 2 spiritual lord. Qiao Er said. Gu Xingming is fighting Feng Wu now. Let's go have a look. If Gu Xingming could defeat Feng Wu, her cultivation level was still within expectations. Otherwise, Qiao Yi's stomach lurched. How did Feng Wu do it? The students who had entered Imperial College at the same time as Feng Wu were still in year 1. But she could already fight a year 3 student. Chapter 2303 Untitled. Chapter 2303, Untitled. When Chief Qiao arrived, Feng Wu was pointing the fire dragon rod at Gu Xingming's head. You're not so arrogant now, are you? Everyone around them had fallen silent. No one dared to utter a word. Gu Xingming was a level 2 spiritual lord, but he hadn't stood a chance in front of Feng Wu. She had struck his head with the rod repeatedly until his face was swollen. Everyone felt chills run down their spines. Stop, Chief Qiao frowned. The Gu family was very influential, and all the 6 brothers were elite students. Naturally, he would take their side. Feng Wu heard him, but when she remembered Qiuling's injury, she ignored him. She didn't stop hitting all 3 brothers, as well as Feng Qi. Feng Qi was the source of all the trouble. Of course, Feng Wu needed to teach her a lesson. Thump, thump, thump. Feng Qi's face was covered in bruises as well. Chief Qiao was furious when Feng Wu ignored him. He shouted, "Stop it now." He reached out and wanted to grab Feng Wu from behind. That strike would severely injure Feng Wu. Watch out, Chaoga cried out. Feng Wu sensed the formidable energy, so she shifted to the side to dodge the strike. She smirked and gave Chief Qiao a cold glance. Chief Qiao, are you going to take their side now? If so, bring it on. Chief Qiao couldn't control his rage. He was about to charge at Feng Wu when he heard a tiny voice in his ear. The tone was very commanding. Any spiritual king who dares to attack Feng Wu will be killed instantly. Chief Qiao felt a cold breeze on his neck, and he shuddered. Who was it? Chief Qiao looked around, but all he could see were the year 2 students. However, that warning had to have come from a very capable cultivator. Was he dreaming? Of course not. Because he couldn't even move a finger, as if he had been tied up with an invisible rope. How terrifying. Who could it be? Frightened, Chief Qiao didn't dare to make any reckless moves. But Qiao Yi didn't know that her dad had just been warned, and she bellowed at Feng Wu. Feng Wu, who the hell do you think you are? You're talking to Chief Qiao now. Do you want to get kicked out of initial? Feng Wu grinned. Who the hell do I think I am? Is that how a teacher of Imperial College is supposed to talk? Are you trying to get yourself fired? Xiaoyi didn't know what to say. She tugged at Chief Qiao. Dad. Because of Feng Wu, Xiaoyi had almost been fired once. Luckily, her father made the whole thing go away, but she just wouldn't learn. Chief Qiao took a deep breath and stared at Feng Wu. What level are you now? He realized that he couldn't tell how advanced Feng Wu was, which put him in a difficult spot. Feng Wu grinned. I'm the top student in year 2 now. What do you think? Chief Qiao closed his eyes. What an impressive girl. He realized that when he exerted the power of a level 1 spiritual king, the girl wasn't frightened. Moreover, there was also that capable person with that warning. He wondered what happened to Feng Wu in the past few months. Chapter 2304 Untitled. Chapter 2304 Untitled. Chief Qiao looked from Feng Wu to the 3 Gu brothers and shook his head. He couldn't decide who would win in the end. Xiaoyi wanted to shout at Feng Wu again, but Chief Qiao yanked her back. Shut up. Chief Qiao gave her a stern look. Xiaoyi was perplexed. Her father had always doted on her, and had never spoken to her in such a strict manner. Chief Qiao realized in astonishment that Feng Wu was too capable for year 2 now, and that unknown powerful man also frightened him. Everyone had thought that Chief Qiao would force Feng Wu to conform as was his usual style. The Gu brothers were so pleased. But Chief Qiao did something that puzzled them all. Chief Qiao walked up to Feng Wu and forced a smile. He asked respectfully, So, how do you want to proceed? The others couldn't believe their ears and eyes. Why would Chief Qiao use that tone? Why would he even ask Feng Wu? Xiaoyi was astonished. Dad! As soon as she protested, Chief Qiao scolded her. Shut up. One more word, and you'll be fired. Chief Qiao warned Xiaoyi. Xiaoyi burst into tears. Her father had never treated her like this, so she ran away, feeling utterly wronged. However, the others didn't pay much attention to her. Their eyes were all on Feng Wu. The Gu brothers gritted their teeth. Why is everyone here? Someone chuckled and asked. With that, a woman in a purple dress landed in the square. Chief Zixuan, Gu Xingyan and Gu Xingming looked at each other. She was the head of year 3. Since she loved the color purple, she always wore purple dresses. She was proud, stubborn, and always biased toward her favorite students. Gu Xingming was one of the students she had high hopes for. Seeing that Gu Xingming was covered in blood, Chief Zixuan opened her eyes wide. Gu Xingming, what are you doing here in year 2? After the warning, Chief Qiao decided to support Feng Wu. He smirked. Chief Zixuan, don't you know that they all came here to start a fight? Chief Zixuan asked, what fight? Chief Qiao pointed at Feng Wu. They're all here to attack this girl, but they underestimated her, and she ended up beating them up. Chief Zixuan frowned. Nonsense. How can a year 2 student possibly beat up a year 3 student? Chief Qiao found that claim a compliment. If a year 2 student defeated a year 3 student, that meant that he was the better teacher. At that thought he was elated. He said, Zixuan, your students need to work harder. They can't even defeat the 8th student in my year. The 8th? Chief Zixuan frowned, and someone next to her pointed at the billboard, where Feng Wu's name was 8th on the list. Feng Wu. Chief Zixuan frowned. She had never heard that name before. But she had to get revenge for her student. Moreover, she didn't believe that Feng Wu was better than Gu Xingming. Chapter 2305 Untitled. Chapter 2305 Untitled. Mu Xian. Chief Zixuan pointed at a year 3 student who had followed Gu Xingming here. Fight her. She needed to prove to year 2 that the year 3 students were very capable. Had it been any other day, Mu Xian would have followed the order, but he hesitated now. He had watched how Feng Wu struck the Gu brothers on the head with the fire dragon rod. Gu Xingming hadn't stood a chance, and it looked so painful. Chief Zixuan, I don't think I can do it. Mu Xian smiled bitterly. Chief Zixuan's eyes widened. Mu Xian was ranked around 90th in year 3, but he admitted that he wasn't Feng Wu's match. Chief Chiao burst into laughter. Chief Zixuan, just accept it. Feng Wu is too good for year 2. And probably even year 3. Chief Zixuan stared at Chief Chiao and asked, "What do you mean?" Chief Chiao said, "I think she's capable enough to enter year 4 directly." He sounded very proud. But was he really helping Feng Wu? Not necessarily. Chief Chiao feared the force behind Feng Wu and didn't dare to do anything to her. But that didn't mean that he was going to help her. Instead, he wanted to set her up. To do that, he would raise Feng Wu's status first. Once she was famous enough, he would ruin her reputation. That was Chief Chiao's plan. After all, Chief Gao of Year 5 and Chief Zixuan clashed severely with each other. Therefore, Chief Chiao said deliberately, "Someone please tell Chief Gao to come here. We have a genius here who can skip year 3 and enter year 4. Chief Zixuan looked at Chief Chiao in resignation. But before she could say anything, Feng Wu was already headed for the front gate. "Feng Wu, where are you going?" Chief Chiao asked anxiously. "Year 3. Why year 3? Chief Chiao asked after glancing at Chief Zixuan. Feng Wu snorted. Someone needs to pay his debt. Gu Xingyuan had cut off Qiuling's hand, and Feng Wu was going to make him pay for what he did. Chief Zixuan glared at Feng Wu and found her the most arrogant girl. "Do you think you can go to year 3 just like that?" Chief Zixuan's impression of Feng Wu was very bad from the very beginning. Being a stubborn and arrogant person herself, she couldn't stand it when she thought someone else was being arrogant. Feng Wu paused to glance at Chief Zixuan, and there was no respect in her eyes. Chief Zixuan was used to being revered, and she was furious. "How do I get to Canon?" Feng Wu remembered that was where year 3 was. Chief Zixuan smirked. "Only year 3 students are allowed to go there. You haven't graduated from year 2 yet. How can you possibly go to year 3? Feng Wu looked at Chief Chiao. Although she didn't say anything, Chief Chiao took the hint immediately. Chief Chiao smiled and said, "Gu Xingqing is more than qualified to graduate from year 2. Since you've defeated him, you must be good enough to move on from year 2 as well. In the end, however, you still have to pass the billboard test. So, why don't you place your hand on the board? That way, the system can automatically recognize your capability. If you really are the top student on the billboard, you can graduate from initial. If you're lucky enough, the system will also put you on the year 3 billboard. That way, you won't even need to take the entrance exam for year 3. Chapter 2306 Untitled. Chapter 2306 Untitled. Feng Wu walked up to the billboard without saying another word. The billboard was a 10-meter wide square board with all the names of the year 2 students on it. There was an imprint of a right hand in the lower right corner. Feng Wu put her hand on it. Everyone watched the names. Feng Wu was now 8th. Would she really rise to the top? To their disappointment, nothing happened. What was going on? Was Feng Wu's cultivation level a lie? Everyone was perplexed. Even Chief Chiao looked confused. Chief Zixuan smirked. "I was wondering what kind of genius she was. Now I see that you were bluffing, Chief Chiao." Chief Chiao was speechless. Chief Zixuan told the year 3 students, "Let's go. Just think about it. How amazing can a year 2 student be? She's not worth the attention." Something happened at that moment. Look, Feng Wu's ranking is changing. She's 7th now. OMG. She's 6th, 5th, 3rd, 2nd. She's surpassed Gu Xingqing. Feng Wu is the top student in year 2 now. Gu Xingqing looked utterly embarrassed. Hearing that, Chief Zixuan looked up at Feng Wu and narrowed her eyes. Although Feng Wu was talented, Chief Zixuan still didn't like her. She preferred teenage boys to teenage girls. As the head of year 3, Chief Zixuan decided to show Feng Wu what challenges she was about to face. Chief Zixuan had made up her mind, but something unexpected happened. Someone cried out, "Why is Gu Xingqing first again? Where did Feng Wu's name go?" Everyone panicked a little. They all looked at the billboard. Feng Wu's name had been first on the billboard a moment ago, but it was gone now, and Gu Xingqing was first again. Realizing that Feng Wu had given him back the spot, Gu Xingqing flushed with embarrassment. He wanted to wipe his name off the board. Chief Chiao looked at Chief Zishuan and said, "There's only one possibility now." "That's impossible." Chief Zishuan cut him off. "Only a real genius would be selected by the system. That girl is far from that yet." Chief Chiao said, "Then how do you explain the fact that her name has disappeared?" Chief Zishuan was speechless. Meanwhile, Feng Wu headed out with the fire dragon rod. Chief Chiao asked, "Feng Wu, where are you going?" Feng Wu didn't even look back. "I'm going to Cannon." Mu Xian snorted. "Does she think she can go in just like that? She has to pass the test first." But he didn't see the strange look on Chief Zishuan's face. Chapter 2307 Untitled. Chapter 2307, Untitled. Let's go have a look. If she really can get in, it means that she entered year 3 without needing to take the exam, said Song Yichen loudly. Whoosh. They all followed Feng Wu. Chief Chiao smiled at Chief Zishuan. I remember that Cannon's billboard is outside the front gate, right? That was to say, everyone who walked past Cannon could see it. Chief Zishuan smirked. So what? Do you really think that she'll be on it? Chief Chiao said, I didn't believe it at first, but I do now. Not only will her name be on it, it'll be quite high up as well. Chief Zishuan smirked. How naive. But she was astonished when she saw the billboard. That was because Feng Wu's name really is there. She's 1000th, the last place. How strange. I thought she defeated Gu Xingmeng. Why is she only 1000th? Is it because she used magical instruments and inscriptions? The system will automatically filter those. That is to say, only her magical instruments and inscriptions are powerful, not the person herself. What they didn't know was that Feng Wu had only used 10% of her true power when she put her hand on the billboard. While the others were still talking, Feng Wu slammed the fire dragon rod down on the ground and opened her mouth. Gu Xingyuan, come out right now. Her voice wasn't very loud, but as it rang out, it felt like a thunderclap in the air. It stirred up all of Cannon. The people outside the gate didn't feel much, because Feng Wu had made sure that only the people inside could hear the shout. Whoosh! Almost all the students in Cannon were shocked. With all the boring classes and cultivation practice, of course they would find the incident exciting. They all rushed out the front gate, where they found all the Year 2 students. Were they here to challenge Year 3? How interesting. Gu Xingyuan, someone's calling your name. Gu Xingyuan was the top student in Year 3, which gave him the right to live in the villa area, where the spiritual essence was more dense. He was cultivating when he was disturbed. Gu Xingyuan, come out. Right now. It was impossible for him to ignore that voice. He couldn't believe that someone dared to challenge him here in Cannon. He grabbed Cold Wind, his sword, and charged out. Half of the students in Cannon had gone out traveling, and nearly all the remaining 500 had come out. Make way. Gu Xingyuan is here. People saw him coming. The crowd parted so that Gu Xingyuan could pass. In the center of the crowd was a circle about 10 meters in diameter. Feng Wu kept her gaze on the ground, and there was no warmth in her eyes. Chapter 2308 Untitled. Chapter 2308 Untitled. Brother Xingyuan, you're finally here. Seeing Gu Xingyuan, Feng Qi burst into tears. Help brothers Xingyan, Xingqing and Xingmeng. Feng Wu beat them up so badly. Brother Xingyan almost died. What? Gu Xingyuan stared at Feng Qi. Are you talking about the Feng Wu who destroyed your house? Feng Qi nodded. Yes, that's her. Now she's injured them. Interesting. Gu Xingyuan pushed Feng Qi out of his way and walked up to Feng Wu. I don't care if Feng Qi is telling the truth. You only have one chance. He pointed at the meadow and said, kneel now and kowtow 100 times. That way, I'll spare your life. Otherwise, Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. Otherwise, I'll end up like Qiuling. Is that it? So, you already know that I cut off your maid's hand. Gu Xingyuan chuckled. That girl is quite talented. I asked her to be my personal maid, but she said no. So I cut off her hand as a punishment. What's wrong with that? Feng Wu suddenly changed the subject. Are you the top student in Year 3? Gu Xingyuan asked. Do you have a problem with that? You're at the bottom of year 3 now. Feng Wu said. So you care about that a lot. Gu Xingyuan said. No matter how I feel, there's nothing you can do. Feng Wu chuckled. She pointed at Gu Xingyuan and said, I'll give you 2 options. You can cut off one of your arms, or I'll cut both of them off. Ha ha ha. Hearing that, everyone burst into laughter. The year 3 students were the loudest, and the year 2 students wanted to deny that they ever knew Feng Wu. Gosh, that's hilarious. I've never met anyone so shameless. Did Feng Wu just threaten Gu Xingyuan? The last student on the billboard is threatening the top student. That's a first. I can't wait to see her humiliate herself. Chief Zixuan couldn't stand it anymore. She shook her head and wanted to leave. Chief Qiao stopped her. Chief Zixuan, don't go. The best part is yet to come. Chief Zixuan looked at him in resignation. You hate Feng Wu, don't you? Chief Qiao smiled. Of course not. Feng Wu is the most talented student in Initial. As the head of Initial, I adore her. Chief Zixuan said. If you really care about her, shouldn't you try to talk her out of it? Chief Qiao glanced at her. Do you also think that Feng Wu isn't Gu Xingyuan's match? Chief Zixuan shook her head. The 2 of them aren't comparable at all. Chief Qiao raised his chin. That's right. Gu Xingyuan doesn't stand a chance at all. Chief Zixuan rolled her eyes at him. Chapter 2309 Untitled. Chapter 2309, Untitled. Just when Feng Wu and Gu Xingyuan were about to start fighting. Wait, a girl blocked Feng Wu's way. She was a pretty girl. Chu Junying? The year 3 students saw that it was the prettiest girl in their year. Do you think you can challenge Xingyuan just like that? If everyone does that, he won't have any time to cultivate. Chu Junying rolled her eyes at Feng Wu. Because Gu Xingyuan had been the top student for years, he was well respected. Hearing that, the other students nodded as well. That's right. You don't get to challenge our top student just because you want to. You don't deserve the opportunity. We have our own rules. You can only challenge someone within 10 places of your ranking. Otherwise, the top students will never have time for their cultivation. Everyone shouted at Feng Wu at the same time. Young lady, Chu Junying is right. If you want to challenge someone, challenge the students who are fewer than 10 places ahead of you, said Miss Wang of year 3. The look on her face was serious, and it was obvious that she wasn't pleased with Feng Wu. Chu Junying chuckled. You're last on the billboard, so the best you can do is challenge the 990th place. She glanced at the billboard and smirked. Where is Zhao Ran, the 995th? As the prettiest girl in canon, Chu Junying was very well liked among the boys. No one could say no to her. Zhao Ran immediately stepped out. Here. I'm Zhao Ran. Chu Junying glanced at Feng Wu before turning to Zhao Ran. Are you willing to take up Miss Feng Wu's challenge? She believed that year 3 was her territory, and as an outsider, Feng Wu stood no chance. She thought that Feng Wu had to slowly make her way up the billboard. Seeing that Chu Junying was looking at him, Zhao Ran nodded. Yes, of course. Many year 2 students felt Chu Junying's animosity toward Feng Wu. Since they would be entering year 3 one day as well, naturally, they took Feng Wu's side. Thus, they empathized with her. Because of that, they disliked Chu Junying. Chu Junying could sense their attitude, but she couldn't care less how the year 2 students felt about her. Feng Wu, you'll be challenging Zhao Ran now, Chu Junying said with a smile. She then turned to the others and said, I think Feng Wu will be very busy for a while. Why don't you go back to what you were doing? Chu Junying was a well-respected figure, so the crowd was about to scatter as she asked. Chaoga stepped forward, but before she could say anything, Feng Wu shook her head. She then walked up to the billboard. There was also a palm print in the lower right corner. Feng Wu put her hand on it and thump. The billboard blacked out. What? The crowd looked at it in disbelief. How did that happen? Chapter 2310 Untitled. Chapter 2310 Untitled. That was so terrifying. Chief Zixuan and Chief Qiao looked at each other, and they both had a bad feeling. Chief Qiao cleared his throat. Is there a glitch in the system? Chief Zixuan glanced at him, but didn't answer. According to the first headmaster of Imperial College, even if the school was destroyed, the system would never fail. Sizzle. Sizzle. Everyone stared at the screen and waited for it to light up again. And when it did, they were all shocked. They couldn't believe it. Where is Feng Wu's name? It's not 1000th anymore. I can't find her in the 900s. Nor is she in the 800s. They looked from the bottom to the top, when someone cried out. Gosh! Look! Gu Xingyuan is in second place now. What? Gu Xingyuan had been there for years. Who had replaced him? When they saw the name above Gu Xingyuan, someone fainted. Impossible. This can't be happening. There has to be a glitch in the system. The Year 2 students were so shocked that they all fell silent. The Year 3 students were the ones that couldn't stop talking. They never thought that something like this could happen. How did Feng Wu become the top student? Didn't she just enter Year 3? She was last on the billboard just a moment ago. Everyone looked at Gu Xingyuan, hoping that he could give them an explanation. Chief Zixuan and Chief Qiao weren't with the crowd. They stood on higher ground. Chief Qiao looked shocked. So did Chief Zixuan. Chief Zixuan hesitated. What level is she? Chief Qiao couldn't answer that question. Yes, he had been praising Feng Wu, but he had made those things up. He didn't know that Feng Wu was so capable. He didn't want it to be true, but there was nothing he could do. He forced a smile and said, I told you. Feng Wu made some huge progress during her trip. I told you that she could enter Year 4 directly, but you wouldn't believe me. He shrugged. Chief Zixuan frowned. There must be something behind this. Everyone else thought the same. I don't believe it, said Chu Junying. How can the bottom student rise to the top in an instant? Feng Wu, I'll challenge you. Chaoga laughed. Didn't you say that you can only challenge someone 10 places higher than you? Chu Junying. You can only challenge the 90th on the billboard. Hangwei, she wants to challenge you. Chu Junying's face went scarlet. I'll challenge you. Gu Xingyuan pointed at Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded. What happens if I kill you? Everyone went silent. No. You can't kill anyone here in the college. Chu Junying said anxiously. The others all looked at her. Why did she look so anxious? Did she think that Gu Xingyuan would lose? Chapter 2311 Untitled. Chapter 2311 Untitled. Gu Xingyuan threw a dirty look at Chu Junying. Chu Junying whimpered a little. Gu Xingyuan stared at Feng Wu. Don't worry. I'll make you wish that you were dead. Feng Wu said. I can say the same thing to you. The fight started as soon as they said those words. With Feng Wu's real capability, Gu Xingyuan, who was only a level 3 spiritual lord, wasn't her match at all. She could split him in half with one strike. Feng Wu was well aware of that. But, the moment she made her first move, she felt a pair of eyes on her. It made her feel rather uncomfortable. She suddenly realized that she couldn't show the others her full strength, especially now that she was surrounded by enemies. Hence, she withheld some of her strength. She dodged Gu Xingyuan's first strike. Look, Feng Wu is evading Gu Xingyuan. She wouldn't do that if she's more capable than Gu Xingyuan. So Feng Wu isn't really the top student, is she? Look, they both stumbled back after the second strike. Gu Xingyuan has parried Feng Wu's fire dragon rod. Gu Xingyuan is winning now. Oh no, Feng Wu hit Gu Xingyuan on the head. Look, she's hitting him again. Gosh, how many times has she hit him on the head? Doesn't that hurt? By then it was obvious who was going to win. Feng Wu had gained the upper hand. Thump, thump, thump. With her fire dragon rod, Feng Wu made sure that Gu Xingyuan couldn't go far as she hit him on the head. She could kill Gu Xingyuan with one strike, but she wouldn't do that. She wanted everyone to watch. Gu Xingyuan grew up as a golden boy, and he had never experienced something like this. Feeling so humiliated and unable to get away, Gu Xingyuan fainted. You! Chu Junying shouted at Feng Wu. How could you do that? Feng Wu shrugged. Why can't I? Chu Junying was speechless. She ignored Feng Wu and went to check on Gu Xingyuan. She made up her mind. Although Feng Wu was first, after she came to canon, Chu Junying would get all of year 3 to join hands and boycott Feng Wu. She would make sure that Feng Wu became an outcast. She didn't exert her full power. Chief Zixuan wasn't fooled. She knew that Feng Wu was hiding her true capability. Chief Qiao felt conflicted. That means that she can do even better. Chief Zixuan said, "You were right. She's too good for year 3. Chief Qiao said, "Are you saying that she'll skip year 3? Chief Zixuan said, "Year 1 to year 3 is only the first stage of Imperial College, and year 4 is a different story. The gap is huge. If Feng Wu is so capable, she should go to year 4 as soon as possible." Chief Zixuan grinned. In year 4, one is expected to defend the empire. Chief Qiao smiled as well when he recalled how mysterious year 4 was. Chapter 2312 Untitled. Chapter 2312 Untitled. That's right. She'll have responsibilities once she enters year 4. We'll have to wish her good luck. Chief Zixuan glanced at Chief Qiao. "I see that you're not on Feng Wu's side after all." Chief Qiao said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I wish her all the best." Chief Zixuan didn't believe him. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Feng Wu. "If you want to go to year 4, you can also come to me to take the test," said Chief Zixuan. Feng Wu frowned a little. Somehow, she felt that things weren't so simple. No one is allowed to tell any outsider what happened here today. If you do, you can stop coming to school. Chief Zixuan left after those words. Feng Wu watched suspiciously as Chief Zixuan walked away. Not a word to outsiders? Why? Xiaoge wouldn't have it. Xiao Wu was so amazing, and everyone should know about it. Why can't we spread the news? Feng Wu didn't understand it either. Seeing that Gu Xingyuan had passed out, she didn't feel so angry anymore. She was about to move closer, when Chu Junying stopped her and said nervously, "What do you want to do to him?" Feng Wu had wanted to cut off his hands, but he was unconscious, and it didn't seem fair. "Fine. You can keep your hands for a few more days." Feng Wu left after saying that. "Xiao Wu, are we going back home?" Xiaoge asked when she saw the direction Feng Wu was headed in. Feng Wu then realized that she had forgotten something very important. She was here to ask about Grand Secretary Feng. She then took Xiaoge to see Mr. Lu. Grand Secretary Feng was the acting headmaster of Imperial College when Mr. Lu went into seclusion. Now that Mr. Lu had come out of seclusion, Grand Secretary Feng was gone. Was there something behind it? When Feng Wu arrived, she was greeted by Mr. Lu's personal servant. His name was Songzi, and Feng Wu had met him before. Songzi let her in and said, "Mr. Lu is seeing someone now. Please wait a moment." Feng Wu nodded and waited in the living room. Before long, she heard footsteps and the door opened. Mr. Lu walked out with the guest. Feng Wu was perplexed when she saw the person, because she had seen her earlier today. It was Chief Zixuan of Canon. Chief Zixuan was surprised as well. She had asked around just now, and only then learned who Feng Wu was. Hearing that Feng Wu was quite close to Grand Secretary Feng, she was glad that Grand Secretary Feng was away. She believed that Mr. Lu and Grand Secretary Feng weren't on friendly terms, and decided that Feng Wu would be in a lot of trouble if she behaved in the same arrogant way. She was here to report to Mr. Lu about the incident with Feng Wu today. Because of her biased opinion of Feng Wu, she slandered Feng Wu in front of Mr. Lu. However, as soon as she walked out, she saw Feng Wu sipping tea outside. "Songzi, you can't let just anybody in. Don't you know how busy Mr. Lu is? If he agrees to meet every student that comes here to see him, he won't have time for anything else." Chief Zixuan scolded Songzi. Songzi looked at Chief Zixuan in surprise. Chapter 2313 Untitled. Chapter 2313, Untitled. Hearing those words, Mr. Lu laughed. "Zixuan, this girl isn't just some random visitor. She's my young friend. Aren't you, Xiao Wu?" Chief Zixuan was astonished. Now that Grand Secretary Feng was away, Mr. Lu had announced that Feng Wu was his young friend. Why? She didn't want to say another word, and promptly left. Come in and sit down. Mr. Lu welcomed Feng Wu into his office. Feng Wu didn't beat around the bush. Why did Grand Secretary Feng leave in such a hurry? Couldn't he wait for me to come back? Mr. Lu looked at Feng Wu and went silent. Feng Wu frowned. Is there something I should know? Mr. Lu sighed. You were only a spiritual master when you came to Imperial College, but not a year has passed, and you've already become so amazing. You really are a genius. He was filled with emotions when he recalled his first meeting with Feng Wu. Feng Wu was amazed as well. She had only started cultivating again less than a year ago, but she had risen from a spiritual master to a spiritual lord. You're a level 9 spiritual lord now. That's so unbelievable. Mr. Lu tapped Feng Wu on the forehead. How can you be so talented? Feng Wu shrugged. I can't help it. Mr. Lu, who had always been so serious, burst into laughter. You mischievous girl. But you're right. You really can't help it. It's your destiny. Seeing her innocent face and bright eyes, Mr. Lu couldn't bring himself to tell her what hardships people with such a destiny would go through. But Feng Wu saw it on his face. Mr. Lu, do you want to tell me something? Mr. Lu only said, stay in year 3 for a bit longer. You don't need to rush into year 4. Feng Wu asked why. She didn't like her fellow classmates in year 3. Mr. Lu said, His Royal Highness can tell you the answer. But Feng Wu didn't want to go anywhere near the Crown Prince. Worried that the smart girl would guess the answer if he said too much, he wanted to send her away. Wait. Feng Wu remembered why she was there, and she asked Mr. Lu, are you sure everything's fine? Xiaoqi went with Grand Secretary Feng, and I'm worried about him. Mr. Lu said, don't worry. Traveling with Grand Secretary Feng can only benefit Xiaoqi. He then looked at Feng Wu. You're making fast progress now, but in a few years, Xiaoqi will become more efficient than you. You can't take cultivation too lightly, okay? Seeing that Mr. Lu wouldn't tell her more, Feng Wu left his office. But his words had reassured her. The Feng clan. As soon as Feng Wu went back to the Feng manor, she felt that something was off. The servants were bustling around, but they kept giving her hesitant looks. Xiao Wu, has something happened? Even Chaoga noticed it. Feng Wu frowned and hurried back to Fallen Star Yard. Chapter 2314 Untitled. Chapter 2314, Untitled. However, when she reached a covered corridor, a masked figure suddenly charged at her. Xiao Wu, watch out! Chaoga cried out. However, when Feng Wu turned around, Chaoga was nowhere to be found. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Shit! Who dared to snatch a person in the Feng clan? Feng Wu saw the figure turn a corner, and Chaoga was hanging over the person's shoulder. Without thinking, Feng Wu ran after them. Whoosh! 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 She ran as fast as her legs would carry her. Sensing her speed, the person picked up speed as well. Feng Wu then ran even faster. Because of the mask the person was wearing, Feng Wu couldn't tell who it was, but she found the person rather familiar. The person then rushed into the manor's restricted area. Feng Wu had been here once to test her cultivation ability. Feng Yanfeng then told her that she could come here to cultivate with the elders when she turned 10 years old. But she lost her ability before that, and never got that chance. A rock stood outside the area, warning all uninvited visitors that their actions would be punishable by death. Since Chaoga was inside, Feng Wu couldn't care less about the warning. She immediately ran inside. As soon as she stepped into the area, she felt the sand move under her feet. A formation. Alarmed, Feng Wu immediately rolled over the ground. She was a level 7 formation master, and not many formations could stop her. However, the one in this area was also level 7. Although the Feng clan had declined, they used to be one of the 10 major clans, so they still had some tricks up their sleeves. Feng Wu calmly solved the formation as she walked into the area. At the same time, there was a small courtyard at the center of the formation. There was a well in the courtyard. 3 old men sat around the well, but they weren't cultivating. They were all watching the well with serious looks on their faces. The image in the well was none other than of Feng Wu. They were watching Feng Wu pass through the formation. Did you downgrade the formation? One of the elders asked with a frown. The Feng clan had 3 surviving elders. They were Elder Breeze, Elder Jing and Elder Grain. They were ranked by seniority, as well as capability. The 3 of them had been living in seclusion in this area for years, doing nothing but cultivating. They were the Feng clan's last resort, and every single one of them was very capable. Earlier today, Feng Yinfeng had come here to discuss with them the matter of kicking Feng Wu out of the clan. Feng Yinfeng gave several reasons. First of all, Feng Wu was so arrogant that she had made many enemies. That would endanger the entire clan. Secondly, Feng Wu had no love for her family. She had killed Feng Lu and cut off her aunt's hand, which was unacceptable. Thirdly, Feng Wu had injured 4 sons of the Gu family, and they had given an ultimatum that the Feng family had to hand Feng Wu over. Otherwise, the Gu family would join hands with the other families to boycott the Feng family. Last but not least, Feng Qi had more potential than Feng Wu, and was the best candidate as the future head of the clan. Chapter 23:15. Untitled. Chapter 23:15. Untitled. Therefore, he made a request to kick Feng Wu out of the Feng clan. In fact, it was a matter of formality. The 3 elders had indeed considered Feng Wu as their future successor, but they gave up on her after she lost her ability. They had been living here for so long that they knew nothing of the outside world, or of Feng Wu's real talent. Feng Yinfeng was confident that they would believe everything he said. He could make the decision to disown Feng Wu all by himself, but to disown the entire second branch, he would need the 3 elders' approval. The reason he gave to disown the second branch was the beautiful lady. He claimed that her beauty would bring disaster to the whole clan. It was such a major issue in the Feng clan that Feng Yinfeng didn't have the authority to make the decision on his own. Of the 3 elders, Elder Breeze was neutral, Elder Jing was against the idea, and Elder Grain didn't mind disowning Feng Wu and her family. Usually, they wouldn't bother to discuss such a thing, and would have said yes without hesitation. But Elder Jing wouldn't have it this time, because he was the one who had tested Feng Wu's talent back then. He said, "Other things aside, I don't believe that Feng Qi is more talented than Feng Wu." Elder Grain said, "Feng Wu has lost her ability, so just forget about her." Since neither Elder Breeze nor Elder Grain would give in, Elder Breeze made the call. In that case, just let Feng Qi compete with Feng Wu, and we'll have the answer. To lure Feng Wu to the restricted area, they used Chaoga as bait. While they watched the image in the well, Chaoga sulked on the side. Elder Jing was pleasantly surprised. He pointed at the well and said, "Look, Feng Wu is doing great." She was only surprised at first. After that, she's been perfectly calm. Elder Breeze nodded. This is a level 7 formation, and even Feng Yinfeng can't get in. However, Feng Wu has been solving the formation as she walks. None of the traps have been a problem for her. Elder Grain didn't like Feng Wu. Hearing that, he frowned and asked, "How can it be possible that she knows how to solve the formation on her own?" "Jing, you didn't tell her how to do it, did you?" Elder Jing threw a dirty look at Elder Grain. "You were the one who snatched the girl. I've never had any contact with Feng Wu. If someone told her how to solve it, it would be you." That shut Elder Grain up. There was no way that he could have told Feng Wu that information. But how did she do it? Even if she started cultivating when she was in her mother's belly, she still can't have reached level 7. Is she even human? Elder Grain was perplexed. Chaoga was lying on the ground as she listened to them. She didn't like Elder Grain's tone. "Hey, old man, watch it." Chaoga was restrained, but though she couldn't move, she could still talk. "What do you mean by that? Of course Xiao Wu is human. She's just amazing like that. Are you jealous?" Elder Grain didn't expect to see her wake up so soon, and was taken aback. He was infuriated when he heard what Chaoga said. Chapter 2316 Untitled. Chapter 2316 Untitled. No one could intimidate Chowga, even if the person was an elder of the Feng clan. She snorted. Xiao Wu is a level 7 formation master and a level 7 inscription master. She can go through your formation with her eyes closed. You. Elder Grain couldn't stand it when other people talked back. He wanted to smack Chowga, but Elder Jing stopped him. Grain, calm down. Even if you want to get back at her, wait until she's done talking. Elder Jing then turned to Chowga and said, Kiddo, you're bluffing, aren't you? Of course not. You people have been stuck here for so long that you know nothing about what's going on outside, Chowga said grumpily. Not only is Xiao Wu a level 7 inscription master and a level 7 formation master, she's also a supreme level medicine refiner as well. Surprised? Elder Grain didn't believe a word. Kiddo, that's just ridiculous. Chowga was displeased. She didn't mind them questioning her ability, but she wouldn't let anyone say such things about Feng Wu. Why should I lie about it? It's not a secret. Ask around and you'll know. By the sound of it, you're all elders of the Feng clan. Why does it sound like you don't know anything? Elder Breeze was speechless. So was Elder Jing. And Elder Grain. Chowga glared at them. Since you don't even know Xiao Wu's additional abilities, I assume that you don't know her cultivation level either, right? Elder Grain frowned. Isn't she a level 7 spiritual elder? Chowga said, Oh my god. She couldn't believe her ears. You really don't know anything at all. That was 6 months ago. Elder Grain said, How much better can she be after 6 months? She'll be a level 8 spiritual elder at most. Chowga gave him a you idiot look. Because Feng Wu often gave other people that look, Chowga had learned it from her. It really made other people feel that they were stupid. That look gave Elder Grain the creeps. What are you looking at? Chowga looked at the 3 old men and asked, Do you really think that Feng Wu is still a level 7 spiritual elder? Elder Grain snapped. What is she then? Of course, Chowga knew that Feng Wu was a level 9 spiritual lord, but Feng Wu had been making other people believe that she was a level 7 spiritual lord. That would be enough to scare these 3 old men. Chowga decided to tell them that. A level 7 spiritual lord? Elder Grain wouldn't believe it. You must be kidding. That's impossible. Rising to a level 7 spiritual lord from a level 7 spiritual elder was indeed a scary leap. The restraint on Chowga expired at that moment, and she could move freely again. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.